with danger and with daring rights. To the hilt we take you there, where courage meets a throat laid bare.
Okay, let's unpack this. Sword swallowing. I mean, the very idea just feels impossible, doesn't it?
It really does. Quite astonishing.
Yet for Ricky Richiardi, it wasn't just, possible. It basically defined 15 pretty captivating years of his life. We're talking 1955 right through to 1970. So today we're doing a deep dive into the extraordinary story of this performer.
And we've got some great source material for this.
Yeah, we do. We're drawing from the book To The Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing.
Which is fascinating reading.
Totally. And also the Sword Swallowers Association International's Hall of Fame website.
Right, and they have their To The Hilt podcasts, too.
Exactly. So if this really grabs your interest, those are definitely places to check out for more info.
Definitely. What's really striking here is even in this world, this very niche world of sword swallowing, you still get these legendary figures.
Right.
And Ricky Richiardi he's undoubtedly one of them. These sources give a really rich, detailed look at his journey.
Okay, so the man we know is Ricky Richiardi. He actually started life as Herman Kennedy Potts Jr.
Quite a mouthful compared to Ricky Richiardi.
Yeah. Born August 8th, 1931 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
But people close to him, they just called him Kenny.
Kenny. So quite a transformation to the stage name.
It really is, isn't it? And it kind of highlights the whole theatrical side of performing back then.
Well, exactly. Stage names are often, crafted for maximum impact. And the sources, they suggest there might have been an influence here from another big name at the time, the shock magician Richiardi Jr.
Oh, right. Aldo Izquierdo was his real name.
That's the one, yeah. This other Richiardi, he was known for these really dramatic, almost illusionary, gory acts.
Yeah.
A big presence.
So the name had recognition.
Exactly. It makes a certain kind of sense that Kenny, trying to make his mark in that same sort of theatrical world, might pick a name with that kind of resonance.
Yeah, it gives you that built-in drama, I suppose. Was that sort of thing common? Like really calculated branding back then?
That's a good question. He might have been a bit ahead of the curve in consciously crafting that persona, or maybe just tapped into the zeitgeist really well.
Okay, so here's where it gets, really interesting. The early 1950s, Kenny, now going by Ricky Richiardi, he ends up in Gibsonton, Florida.
Ah, Gibsonton. Giptown.
Exactly. For anyone listening who doesn't know, Gibsonton was this, almost mythical winter spot for circus folks, sideshow performers.
Right, an entire community of people with these truly unique skills.
Imagine being surrounded by that. It seems like that environment in Gibsonton really pushed him, inspired him to go for something as extraordinary as sword swallowing.
Absolutely. It was a place where, skills that would just blow your mind anywhere else were almost normal, part of the everyday fabric.
So in this hotbed of talent, he decides, right, I'm going to learn sword swallowing.
Which is, really pushing the physical and mental boundaries, and how he got started is pretty remarkable in itself.
It really is. So he goes to Betty Bancroft. She was already a known sword swallower.
Right.
And her first instruction, find a stove poker, smooth it down. Come back.
A stove poker.
Yeah, a stove poke. Not exactly, sword swallowing 101.
No kidding. Did the sources say if that was like a standard method back then, or was she just throwing him in the deep end?
That's a really interesting point. How did you learn something so dangerous back then? Formal training probably wasn't a thing, right?
It seems like it was mostly direct mentorship, yeah. And Bancroft's method? Well, it definitely sounds like baptism by fire, or by poker, I guess. The sources do say it was painful for him, like really painful. Initial gagging, vomiting, even bleeding. But here's the kicker. Just 3 weeks later, he was performing.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. It just speaks volumes about his, intense focus, his resilience, and maybe also about that Gibsonton culture of just getting it done fast.
Unbelievable dedication, really. And his career took off pretty quickly after that.
It seems so.
By July 23rd, 1955, so he's just 23, he's performing with Ringling Brothers, Barnum, and Bailey Circus in Chicago.
Wow, Ringling Brothers, that's the big time, straight away.
Huge. And debuting with him at Madison Square Garden, no less. Imagine that for a young performer.
Yeah, that's a massive platform. It really shows the kind of immediate impact he must have made to get featured like that so early on.
And you can actually track his skill progression, which is fascinating.
How so?
Well, by 1958, the sources say he was swallowing up to 4 swords at once.
Okay, 4.
Then just a year later, June 1959, He's up to 5.
5 swords.
Yeah. And there's even a specific mention of him doing this 5-sword feat in Albany, New York. It was part of a cavalcade of oddities with the James E. Straits shows.
Right. That really paints a picture of his developing skill and the kind of shows he was in.
And that Ringling Brothers gig, it wasn't just a one-off. During that 1955 season at Madison Square Garden, he was performing alongside some other truly extraordinary acts.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, the Doll Family Midgets were there, Frida Pushnik, the armless and legless girl, Johan Pettersson, the Viking giant.
Wow. Okay. That really gives you a feel for that sideshow world, doesn't it? The sheer variety of spectacles audiences were seeing.
Absolutely. It was its own unique universe.
Yeah.
And Richiardi was clearly a star within it.
And later in his career, into the 1960s, he moved over to the Hoxie Brothers Circus.
Right.
And it looks like he just kept pushing himself. The blades got longer, up to 29 inches, apparently.
29 inches.
Yeah. And the number of swords went up, too, reportedly up to 7 swords at once.
7. That's just an astonishing level of skill and control.
It really is. But what's also amazing is that sword swallowing. That wasn't his only skill, not by a long shot.
Oh, yeah, he was incredibly versatile.
What else did he do?
Okay, so he did the blade box stunt. You know the one where it looks like blades go right through the person in the box?
Requires incredible precision.
Totally. He had a swinging ladder act with an aerialist.
Yeah.
He did cloud swing. He walked a high wire on his knees.
On his knees. Okay, that just sounds incredibly dangerous.
Right. And he handled big snakes, too. Pythons, boas.
Snake charmer, too.
And get this. He even had an act with a camel.
A camel. Wow. Okay, this guy could do pretty much anything.
Do you like it?
That range of skills, though, swords, snakes, aerials, it really highlights how demanding it was being a touring performer then.
Yeah.
You often had to be a jack of all trades just to keep working, keep audiences hooked. His ability to master so many different things really speaks to his dedication, his work ethic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's a mention of him performing at the Erie County Fair in Hamburg, New York in 1961. Just gives you a little snapshot of his constant touring schedule.
Right, always on the move.
And he wasn't just a solo act working in isolation. He clearly had connections.
Mm-hmm. Within the community.
Yeah. He was friends with another sword swallower, Mimi Garneau.
Okay.
And he worked alongside a fire eater named Harvey Ray at Hoxie Brothers for several years, like 65 to 69.
Okay. You can just imagine the stories they shared, right? The camaraderie,
Well,
living that unique lifestyle.
totally. Sharing tips, maybe? Coping strategies for the road?
Absolutely. And the descriptions we have of Richiardi himself, they paint a vivid picture.
Yeah.
Very good looking, very dark-skinned, with black hair, and very smooth in his performance style.
Smooth.
Oh.
Okay. Sounds like he had real stage presence.
Seems like it. And apparently he was also known for doing a great Lionel the Lion-Faced Boy pitch show.
A pitch show. What's that exactly?
That was often like a smaller sort of extra show outside the main tent, often featuring something particularly unusual or sensational to draw in a bit more money, you know.
Ah, okay. So he had that kind of direct audience connection too. Could work different formats.
Yeah, suggests a real knack for engaging people on multiple levels.
And here's something really admirable. He passed on his skills.
Oh, yeah. He taught someone.
He did.
Yeah.
In the fall of 1969, back in Gibsonton, he taught sword swallowing to Sandra Reed. She was known as an albino lecturer.
Okay.
And get this. He actually built her a sword shield, like crafted it for her, and gave her 3 of his own swords to start with.
Wow, that's incredibly generous.
Isn't it? And Sandra Reed, she's quoted saying he was a marvelous, marvelous man. I mean, super.
That really speaks volumes about his character, doesn't it? Beyond just the performer.
It really does. That he'd take the time to do that.
Yeah, that act of mentorship, it's a really significant part of his legacy, I think. It shows he cared about the art form itself, wanted it to continue.
Passing the torch.
Exactly, within that very tight-knit community. It's a wonderful thing.
But sadly, his story takes a really tragic, very sudden turn not long after that.
Oh, no. What happened?
It was January 30th, 1970. He was near Moorhaven, Florida, just south of Gibsonton, apparently fixing a flat tire on the side of the road.
Oh, okay.
And he was struck by a hit-and-run driver.
Oh, awful.
Yeah, he died the next day. He was only 38 years old.
Just 38. That's so young. And a hit and run? Terrible.
It is. And our sources even mentioned there was some suspicion of foul play around it, which just adds this layer of unanswered questions to his death.
Wow. That's a really sad end. And it's a stark reminder, too, of how vulnerable people living that life on the road could be.
Mm-hmm.
His connections, though, the Greater Tampa Showmen's Association, the International Independent Showmen's Association.
Right.
And his final resting place is at Showman's Rest Cemetery in Tampa. It really underscores his deep roots in that show business community. Even in death, he's still among his peers.
Yeah, that's quite poignant. And his obituary, it mentions he was survived by his parents, 5 brothers, and 2 sisters back in Beaufort, Georgia.
Brings it back to the personal loss, doesn't it, behind the performer?
It does. We also have this sort of concise timeline here, just hitting the key points. Born 31, Ringling Brothers mid-50s, hitting those sword milestones, 4, then 5.
Right.
Erie County Fair, Hoxie Brothers in the 60s, teaching Sandra Reed in 69.
And then the tragic death in 1970.
Yeah, it really does encapsulate his short but incredibly packed life.
That timeline really helps visualize it, doesn't it? The arc of his career, how much he crammed into those 15 years.
So, yeah, when you piece it all together, Herman Kennedy Paz Jr., becoming Ricky Richiardi, the celebrated sword swallower, the versatile performer, it's an extraordinary journey.
It truly is.
From those, rough initial lessons with a stove poker
Right.
to mastering 7 swords, from huge stages like Madison Square Garden to that personal act of teaching someone else.
Yeah.
It's just this compelling mix of intense dedication, incredible skill, and real showmanship.
Absolutely. And if you, the listener, are intrigued by this world and want to learn more,
Yeah.
definitely check out the Sword Swallowers Association International website. That's swordswallow.com.
Okay, swordswallow.com.
Yeah, you'll find their Hall of Fame there, plus those To The Hilt podcasts we mentioned.
What are your resources?
And for the really comprehensive history, not just of Ricky Richiardi, but over 100 other sword swallowers.
Go book.
The book, To The Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing by Dan Meyer and Mark Hartzman. You can find it at tothehiltbook.com or tothehilt.net.
tothehiltbook.com or tothehilt.net. And probably wherever you usually buy books, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe a final thought to leave you with as you go about your day. Consider this. What does it really reveal about, the human spirit? That someone would dedicate themselves so completely, so intensely to such an unusual, such a demanding art. That incredible blend of dedication and, let's face it, inherent risk and undeniable artistry that you see in a life like Ricky Richiardi's. What does that pursuit of the extraordinary actually tell us?
It's definitely something to think about, the drive behind it all.
For sure. Something to carry with you.
With every breath, dancing close to life and death, stories written deep in flesh, legends born in every test. Through history's winding path, crafted with an iron grasp, voices from a world gone past, echo in the feet they clasp.